Marketing firms know how to build brands, craft killer campaigns, and drive results for their clients. But what about their books? In this episode, we sit down to unpack what every firm owner should know about the business side of running a marketing firm. From choosing the right entity structure to smoothing out cash flow and planning for taxes, we cover the behind-the-scenes money moves that help firms grow sustainably. We've worked with firms of all stages, from solo freelancers to teams scaling past 750,000. In this episode, we're diving into common pitfalls and how to avoid them, smart billing strategies, where money leaks often happen, what you can write off and what you can't, why bookkeeping isn't just about staying organized, it's a growth tool. Whether you're a creative firm, brand studio, ad buyer, or social media strategist, this episode is for you.
Welcome. We're so excited to have you today. I'm Caitlynn. This is Seanna. And this is a continuation of our series about talking to specific business types and industry types. What you will see is that some of these are going to have some of the same advice. So keep listening, because what we know, right? The more you hear it, the more it repeats, the more it sticks. We will have unique numbers and industry data, but I think sometimes these just all are kind of the same. And so for marketing, we've already done an architecture episode. Marketing firms are sometimes similar. There's a few things you guys can do differently, but you still have big projects. And you might have something that's like a huge video project or a huge print project that's going to actually resemble something like designing a building. So we're excited to be here today to talk to you guys about all this cool stuff that marketing agency owners or firm owners should be thinking about.
Yes, I'm so excited to dive into this. And much like our name, Unfiltered Profit, like we are trying to make all of this make simple sense for running your business. And even we can't hear this advice too much, because some of it is stuff that's like, oh yeah, we need to do a better job of that. Like, we're not perfect. We get busy, get bogged down in client work, all the things much like marketing firm owners do. And we're having to remind ourselves on a daily basis of how to step back, look at this, have better processes and procedures in place so that the cash is always there and the firm is profitable.
Yeah. So let's start. I think for some marketing agencies, I kind of want to dive into some of the numbers to start with. So some good news for marketing firm owners is that your industry is growing. So as we talked about, we use IBIS World Reports. These take data based off of your NAICS code, which is that code that goes on your tax return. And for marketing consultants, marketing firms, what they are saying is that in the next 3 to 4 years, your revenue should be growing about 1.9%. And there should be about a 5.5% increase in marketing businesses. So this is just a sign that this is not an area that's going away, which in today's climate, things feel funny, right? Like all businesses feel funny right now. You guys are actually doing pretty good. You're in a good area to be.
I think everyone sits back and worries like AI is going to replace me, right? Like it's not just something that gets told to CPA firms. It's across the board. Like, oh, just go ask ChatGPT and they'll pull this together. And honestly, I'm sure marketing agencies really feel this, because you can go into ChatGPT and ask for it to pull together reels for social media or social media captions and different stuff like that. The thing that I think will always stand is that like business owners in general, not just talking about marketing, but I'm talking about their clients, don't have unlimited time to use these tools to do it all themselves. Some of them will, and that's okay. Like they have better tools to serve them in their DIY. Marketing firms will still need to be able to do that stuff. And now they just have tools to be more efficient. So we can talk about that piece when we start talking about people and roles within the company. But it's not, I don't think AI just makes what they do better and easier and helps with that blank page syndrome, probably. I mean, I'm not a creative person. If you know me, you know that I am not that person. So I'm excited for them, honestly, with the tools that they have in place and how I for sure see that growth is going to happen.
Without a doubt. And I think the important part is maybe not what AI can do for like the business owners that are your clients, but like you as the marketing business owner. So here's something interesting. The profit margin on a marketing firm is 7.9%. So if you've listened to our other episodes, it's about half of what like an architecture firm is. The question becomes, can AI reduce some of my costs? The largest costs are wages again, being 35.1% of revenue. Let's say you are a new marketing firm, or you're not even new, but you've kind of established and you're coming to us. Where do you and I start looking in the books when we see that these numbers are below the industry average or right at, but the business owner still kind of wants to get above the average?
Yeah. And I think this answer comes similar to what we would answer for any professional service firm. We're always going to look at the number one expense, which for any professional service firm, for us, for architects, for engineers, is your staff. If you're a service company, your biggest cost generally is your staff. And we've got to look at two things there. We've got to look at how you're pricing that staff time out, make sure that you've got good margins built into your pricing. And then we've also got to look at the efficiency of your staff. Do you have the right people in the right seats? Is their revenue per person exactly where it should be? If not, why? Where is our efficiency problem? And I think that's where AI should really be able to step in and help. And maybe we'll see over time that industry average for profitability goes up. Yes. Because maybe they need less people because they have AI doing certain parts of the work. Because I don't necessarily see in this inflationary economy, I don't see pricing going down on marketing. Like maybe you're not able to seriously raise prices, but you should be able to really impact the efficiency of the company through using AI tools. And so maybe we'll see that margin grow over time.
I for sure would hope so. Some of this to consider is most often than not, that profit margin includes the owner's salary. So maybe you're paying yourself well. Hopefully you are. If I add that back, I get a higher profit margin. But those are considerations. I think some other good news for marketing, you guys collect your money in about 18 days.
Oh, that's
Rather, right. So we've talked 61 days, 18 days is less than a month. So we can actually really help you cash flow pretty well at that point, and maybe even still find ways to improve and get that closer to the 15-day mark, so that maybe twice a month you're receiving a good amount of your revenue.
Yeah, I love that. And to me, that signals hopefully they've got a decent amount of clients that are on auto pay. And so it's like subscription type services. They're not actually having to wait 18 days. It's like next to 0 days, or like payment processor days, which sometimes is 5 to 7. That's a really good sign. And to me, that says, okay, well, from a profit margin standpoint, as long as they're billing accurately, which we could talk about that. Like if you don't bill on time, then we have a timing problem in looking at your financials. You've got expenses in one period and revenue in a different, which can impact what we see and how we interpret the business. But as long as they're billing on time, then it's just, how do we look for efficiencies to up that profit margin?
Without a doubt. And it's that billing on time. I know we had one firm come to us and they billed multiple days throughout the month. So like whenever the client signed on, that became their billing day. But the problem was wages were paid out twice a month on set days. And so we had a huge mismatch. I'm highly encouraged, said, hey, can you shift all of your clients to twice a month, preferably a few days before you need to pay your wages? And then you will have kind of that match of revenue coming in and going out to wages. And you're not sitting there with loans just to cover the 5 to 10 days of overage that you've got going on. Those are things to look at, and that you can come to professionals and say, hey, something's got to give. I just don't know quite what. I'm kind of busy trying to get clients in or create a new offering, but something's wrong with my books and I just want this fixed.
Sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees in our own business, right? And it's simple tweaks to our processes that actually result in much better cash flow, much better profitability. Like it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be anything with a major time investment to it.
No, not at all. And if you've got an admin, then they can go and rework all of that. I think something available to marketing firms that maybe isn't available to some of the other industries is that they can have both retainers and the project-based income coming in, which can really affect their budget, what they can do, their costs. So kind of what advice do you give to folks on how to set which percentage maybe they do retainer versus project and structure their business?
So with that, I always like to ask the question on retainers. Are we saying retainer as in I have paid you $5,000? And I like this being a conversation topic because people use this word differently. To me, a retainer is I'm paying you $5,000 for X amount of hours. It's a bucket of hours I'm buying. And then as I use that up, I have to top it off. I think because that's kind of how it works in the legal world, which is where I really come
Same.
from that standpoint. Some other people think of retainers as like a deposit on a project. So it's like the first billing, which is to me different in some ways because it's not this like pay up front kind of way. So where do you see that happen? How do you see that interpreted for marketing
For
firms?
marketing, I actually see it as option C, which is that it's their monthly work. So that these are clients who have contracted you to like run their social media every month or create X amount of deliverables to them every month. For legal, I'm with you on those pieces. I totally see where it's like, here's my deposit for this big project. But most often in marketing, it's like a retainer or a monthly fee kind of used interchangeably for I have hired you as my marketing person to create everything monthly.
Okay. I love that. And I love that that's part of this episode because I think people have turned, it's like that's how finances go for business. It's like, oh, retainer. Oh, you mean monthly subscription?
Right.
Well, but it's a retainer.
But the retainer, right, from a marketing standpoint, retainer sounds so nice, but it can get confusing if you're dealing with someone like a CPA who more often deals with like the legal side of how we view retainers or even how we would charge. Like if we had a big project, we would do something similar like, hey, this is X amount of hours, you're going to pay up front. So yes, I think more monthly. So we're kind of talking like that monthly reoccurring revenue versus maybe project-based income.
Yeah. Well, certainly from a cash flow and cash management standpoint, having more retainer clients, more of those monthly recurring revenue is going to smooth out the cash flow for the business, which is always a nice, enjoyable thing. You know how much revenue you're going to have next month and the next month and the next month when you have these clients signed on. Yes, we expect churn, clients might leave, that type of thing. But overall, you can kind of forecast that out. Cash flow and forecasting become both a little more sticky when we have those project-based clients because we don't know when the next one is necessarily coming in the door. We have a certain number of proposals we're constantly having to send out to just fill the next month's pipeline and the next month's pipeline. So there's a level of administrative and business owner work that comes with those. Sometimes they can be super fun and enjoyable. And I know a lot of marketing firms are like that is a big part of their revenue stream because they build websites and then websites go into maintenance mode or they build a campaign and then they run the campaign, but both of those follow-up services are much lower revenue for an ongoing standpoint. And so I do think you have to find a healthy mix for your company, or if you're like, well, sorry, we're just project based. Okay, well, we've got to start knowing that you're like tracking your number of sales calls, tracking your conversion rate so that we can see down the road of like, oh, well, all of a sudden sales calls have fallen off or I'm not converting as many of those sales calls. We can kind of see ahead of time that there's going to be a cash flow problem because you're probably not going to fill in that same load of client work down the road.
Capacity tracking. I think if you're playing in the world of having both, how do you staff optimally so that you're covering your monthly clients but have capacity for those project based? Or are you simply going out and finding contractors for that project based? We're back to same thing. You have to track your team. You have to track their efficiency. You have to make sure that you've got them staffed correctly. Ideally, I mean, those retainers need to cover your monthly labor fees and then above and beyond those project based. Are you giving bonuses if your team is coming in? So there's so many questions and things you can do with this and just making sure you've got the data to support it and that you're making those educated calls. So with the concerns on the lower profit margin in this industry, probably somewhat based on pricing would be my guess, and then just trying to bring in qualified individuals. But where are areas that you look when a business owner is like, hey, I do need to cut costs other than maybe labor? So we know we need to assess that. We need to make sure everyone's optimized. But what are some other areas that we can look at?
Yeah, so obviously labor is the big one, but I think that marketing can also end up being very subscription heavy. So we can kind of look into some of those pieces. But as with all service industries, this gets a little challenging because you don't have a ton of cost, right? When your biggest cost is your people, I can help you cut maybe a couple $100 here and there for subscriptions and software and random things, or maybe you pay rent, you're in a physical building. But otherwise, your biggest thing is going to be your staff, whether you're working with contractors and maybe paying them too high of a rate, or your team efficiency, or as a business owner, you've paid too much for consulting and coaching. And, like this will
Yes.
strike a nerve there. But sometimes as business owners, we think we need more and more and more support. And we end up eating our profitability of our company and our cash flow to chase shiny object syndrome or to try to fill the feelings of our imposter syndrome.
Without a doubt. Those I'd say probably add up the fastest are those who kind of lean into that coaching, business coach area. At some point, you do have to trust yourself. At some point, you can get by with a really good, not get by, but you can actually thrive with a great bookkeeper, great accountant who has that, not the one who's simply like putting the numbers together, but a lot of accountants these days we know offer kind of that level up of like, hey, let's kind of dive into your numbers a bit more and give you some guidance. Looking for that level of service can be super helpful. And it doesn't have to be forever. I think that's the other part to remember. Like you can bring someone in to help for a few months and then spin off and take what you've learned and go from there.
Or have a one-off consulting call.
Yeah, a one-off consulting, deep dive. It doesn't have to be a forever thing. Sometimes the relationships become a little codependent of like, I don't think I can thrive without this person in my back pocket, but you can, and you should really try.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we've got tax structures, which is common. I'd say marketing agencies probably would see a lot on the TikTok, Instagram side, and we've got an episode on that of like all the fancy stuff people will tell you that you can do. You have to remember your cash flow. You have to remember your profit margins. This will probably become a little broken record, but we still have like the LLC to the S Corp route, which is a great one, but C Corp's becoming a possible option. And that is because you can do more fringe benefits for you as the owner with a C Corp that you can't do in an S Corp. And so without it becoming taxable still, or without having a large enough team. So a lot of the S Corp benefits that you can have, like education or childcare, you have to have enough of non-family members basically on your team that you're providing this for to like outweigh you as the owner. That's expensive. So if you're a big company, great option. Let's talk. If you're smaller, maybe the C Corp makes sense. If you're smaller and you think you'd be in like the 39% bracket, then paying 20-ish, 21% on your C Corp revenues makes a lot more sense. And so it's just having those discussions and being prepared for them cash flow wise as well, that you're going to have to pay taxes and you want to be ready for it and you want to take advantage of what is available to you as a business owner. For marketing agencies, you'd fall into kind of the same pieces of home office deductions, accountable plans. Meals are still there when you're out networking, 50%. Watch the entertainment, we can't deduct that. It can be a business expense, and I think it's important to know there's a difference. It can still be a business expense. You can totally take that client to that concert because you're having a networking moment. I just can't deduct it on your taxes. So we have to take that back. So don't go spend $5,000 thinking it's a tax deduction. Yeah, those are some things that we just want you to consider as a marketing agency. I think another is that networking, making sure you're getting out. And then if you're wanting to scale and grow, or even raise your fees, checking to see where your network is. Is your network one that can only pay what you're charging? And how do you shift that network maybe up if you're wanting to get into those higher fee projects?
Yes. I've actually watched a different marketing firms that, they started off serving the smaller business clients, whether it was even just from a consulting standpoint or actually doing their monthly marketing. And then they stepped kind of back into maybe where they started, which was serving more corporate type clients.
Mhm.
And being able to charge those higher fees, do that like higher level marketing plan for them that they just were kind of missing out when they're serving businesses like ours.
So what are 3 things you would leave marketing firm owners with, either from like whatever standpoint of making sure to watch for or just good tips to kind of take from this episode and into their real business?
I think the biggest one is one we just, again, give to most professional service firms. It's let's look at your pricing, make sure that it at least is what the industry is charging. So many people undercharge. And then let's look at the efficiency of your team. Are you paying for team members that are underperforming? Are you paying for a team that is just like, you don't really need to be paying for that service for them to handle those types of tasks? And we're saying this from a standpoint of we've been there in our own business. It's not a judgment.
No.
We're all figuring this stuff out and finding our way through, but you have to be brutally honest. And when you hire a team, you take on that HR role and having difficult conversations. So don't shy away from difficult conversations because it could bring your business down if you don't. If you don't want to talk to them about their efficiency or say like, well, that team member really needs to go, you've got to have that conversation to save your business, save your cash flow. And then from there, look at how you can help improve the efficiency of your business through new tools. Since we're seeing so many tools roll out in the market, don't look at AI and say, oh, I'm just going to ignore it. Utilize it to the best of the ability to improve your efficiency. Don't get scared and think it's going to take your job. I really don't think it is. I know how much we could go crank out in ChatGPT right now, and I'm like, I don't have time for that. So there are plenty of other business owners like us that are like, I can't do that myself. I need to pay somebody to do it. So use it to improve your efficiency, and let's see if we can bring those profit margins for the industry up a little bit more.
Yeah, cut the old software, bring in the new stuff, optimize it. So we hope that you've learned something today. We hope you stick around. Like we said, this series will be here and likely still touch on things that will apply, even if we're talking about a different industry than yours. So thank you for joining us. Questions, comments, please feel free to leave a review. And if you want to know how to work with us, that's in our show notes.